Throne and Liberty. Playing Throne and Liberty makes you feel all happy on the inside with a decent combat system and gameplay, and cute little companions that fly around and make happy little noises, until that is you ingest the
rancid powder,
and they slap you in the face with cosmetics and pay-to-win mechanics the moment you log in. Throne and Liberty is a massively multiplayer online role-playing game, free-to-play game, adventure game, a massively multiplayer game that was developed by NC Soft. The plot is this. Basically, there was a rock that contained Siliveth, the goddess of destruction. Somebody threw it off an overpass at oncoming traffic, which shattered it into fragments and scattered them throughout the world. Somehow, a person can be born with one of these fragments inside of them. They're known as Starborn, and they get kooky star powers. Well, some warlord heard about this and tried to weaponize the rock fragments, as a warlord does. So, one of his wizards sent a witch to an island where Starborn were hiding to make an acquisition, and her and the boys began indiscriminately slaughtering the residents. Some old magic guy argues with her about it, then gets clapped. Then, your character, who is presumably neglecting guard duty and allowed countless civilians to die so he could hang out in a cave and smoke a fat doobie evident by all the smoke in the background, snaps into action and joins the fight. There is a lot of dialogue in the game, and you find these mysterious notes scattered throughout the world which just have some lore on them, so there's a decent amount of story for people who are into that. One thing I don't like though is that there's almost always only one dialogue option in pretty much every interaction you have with an NPC, and when there's more than one option it doesn't even do anything to change the story. It feels like they just did it to create the illusion of being more interactive or something.
Brother,
The UI in the game makes it feel like a soulless, wallet-sucking mobile game. Don't think we forgot about you. Everything is too big, even at the lowest settings. Everything is too squared. The advertisement popping up at the beginning of the game is annoying. Some of the UI mechanics are bad. You have to sit there and wait and watch a bar fill when you level up a skill. Like, why? Nobody wants to sit there and waste time watching a bar fill up 100 times. Just let us level a skill with one click. This guy thinks it's bad too, so obviously it must be true. One positive, I guess, is that you can reorient the HUD basically however you want it, so that's cool. Here's the platforms you can play on. You can fight and die for liberty with your friends regardless of what platforms you're playing on. There is no cross progression though. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, the menu settings. Oh, my bad, I didn't know this thing was recording. Graphics-wise, it's par for the course. Nothing revolutionary, but it's not bad to look at. There was a gigantic floating whale that looked pretty cool. In the endgame, hundreds of players will be on screen at once, shooting at bosses and each other. Everything looks pretty, but nothing really stands out. The game's graphics are just good, and I'd put it 1 or 2 notches below Black Myth Wukong.
what the hell?
Anyways, that's reflected in the system requirements. You only need a 1660 GTX to run the game and 63 gigs of space. No SSD required. The game is an mmorpg, so the gameplay flow is going to be like every other MMO in existence. Make your character, beat the first boss of the game, which is the automated name sensor to name yourself something offensive. Finish the tutorial, go out into the world to do the little tasks that all the NPCs give you, such as acquiring
rancid powder,
come back to proudly tell the NPCs that you've, for example, acquired their
rancid powder,
like a good boy, and they give you a gold star for being such a good boy. There's the Tower of Power, which is actually somewhat challenging, but sometimes for the wrong reasons. You unlock bosses by leveling up. It's just you and the boss in a room and you have to kill them. I died a lot fighting them, partially because I'm trash, but also partially because the mechanics are broken, lazy bullshit. Look at this. Why does the spider hit me while it's still 20 feet off the ground? Because it's broken, lazy bullshit. There's also a harder 6-player version of this. Kill the bastards to gain XP and juicy loot. You can also fast travel to any waypoint from basically anywhere, which is neat and time-saving. However, once you hit level 30, the taxman comes and forces you to cough up a handful of shillings so your peasant ass can use the taxing. For mechanics, you can jump, turn into an eagle to descend from tall places gracefully, or clumsily plop
My leg!
You can enter travel form from level 1 and become a purple cat to be faster. You can acquire
rancid powder,
You can use your weapon's defensive ability to block powerful purple attacks. You can use abilities such as the make your basic attacks deal lightning damage over time ability, the brutal incision ability, which stabs and has a higher chance to crit on enemies below 50% HP, the blink to target and root them ability, or the knife fling ability. That's just a few out of the dagger class, and there's 7 weapons that are basically the classes, and they all have their own ability set and skill trees. When you level up, you get attribute points to increase your base stats. You can equip and unequip abilities and passives to your hotbar. You gain a new ability about every 6 levels. Look at them all. Wow. You can use colorful books to increase the level of your abilities to make them more powerful, and here's the skill specialization menu, which just adds additional effects to your abilities along with some examples of them. Here's the map. It's huge and filled with little tasks for you to do. You got all your crafters and vendors to craft and sell and buy all the things you want. You can level up equipment, put new traits on equipment, and transfer it all to new equipment. Here's the equipment screen. You got your generic RPG helm, chest, gloves, etc. You can equip 2 weapons which each get their own set of skills, and you are allowed to use abilities for your other weapon without switching to it, which is pretty neat. Since it's an MMO, there's going to be tons of different faceless, nameless NPCs for you to slaughter to make
rancid powder,
or whatever you gotta do for a certain quest. The majority of them sit there and attack you. There are also 3 types of bosses outside of dungeon bosses, and all bosses give you that sweet, sweet loot. And they have unique mechanics that you actually have to do or suffer an untimely demise. There's field bosses which just spawn at random times and make a wide area around them have PvP enabled, and they begin tracking your contribution to the fight, and if you die, your contributions reset, for reward purposes. There's guild bosses which require multiple 6-man groups to go out and fight. Lastly, there's arch bosses which are the most powerful bosses in the game. They only appear once per week on a schedule that you can check. Anyways, I didn't get to 50, so I stole this footage from the YouTuber Dana. He's got a ton of Throne and Liberty content, so you should check him out if you're into that sort of thing. For multiplayer, the max group size is 6, and it's an MMO, so there's always people running around in the world that you can talk and interact with. You can queue up for a dungeon and join a group with 5 other players to do a generic MMO dungeon where you kill mobs, then fight a boss, and do that until the dungeon is over. Open a chest and get your shiny loot. There's public events where everyone and their grandma has to, for example, escort some dudes while the local rebel tries to rob them, then getting some seeds or something to fill up balloons so the kids can have a good time or whatever. There's PvP in the form of arenas where 2 teams of 3 fight each other and get points for kills. The first team to reach 200 wins. There's a ranked system for arena where you get points for a win, and the more points you get, the better the players you face. Lastly, there's open world PvP where guilds fight against each other in massive groups over bloodstones and riftstones. The winners of these conflicts gain advantages over other guilds. To do arenas, you have to be level 50, and you'll likely be useless in open world PvP before level 50, so before the endgame, PvP is basically non-existent. If you want to go far in the endgame, joining a guild and a minimal amount of socialization is necessary, so if you enjoy playing solo, this isn't really for you. You can communicate through a bunch of different chat channels, the foremost being good old world chat, where many great minds have philosophical debates and talk about what's important. You can also use party chat to help your team work together to overcome the various challenges thrown your way. It's definitely one of those corporate amusement park games where there's a battle pass that legit just gives you better gear and bonuses that affect gameplay heavily, and a shop that has a flow of cosmetics which is more eternal and unrelenting than the passage of time for you to buy, and all of them have shiny, cool looking icons designed to make the neurons in the monkey section of your brain fire off at astonishing rates, causing you to want them. Some of these things can be bought with the premium currency you buy with real money. Other things are bought with the ornate coins that are acquired by finding in-game codexes or as an apology gift from the devs through the in-game mail system for the servers going down. There's also an auction house that you unlock at level 40 that allows you to buy and sell gear for the premium real-world money currency. This is very
rancid powder,
esque behavior, and some people might even say, pay to win. The game ran decently. I didn't have any glitches or bugs, but I had a few disconnects because of anti-cheat when I definitely didn't have cheats running. Other than that, it was fine. To recap, Throne and Liberty is a skill-based MMORPG with a focus on large-scale guild-based PvP, but has PvE content for the people that want it. The abilities feel good and snappy. The character customization is good. I have not played the PvP because I don't like the game enough to hit 50, but if you can stomach the level 1 to 50, the PvP seems like it would be decent for people who like PvP. The pay-to-win elements of the game and the cheap mobile game feeling UI take away from it a bit, and the advertisement popping up every time you launch the game gives me a strong taste of
rancid powder
in my mouth. It's just the same basic MMO that's been done for the last 20 years with minor variations and a few interesting systems. The game up until endgame is also very easy unless you're doing content that's too high for you, so it gives a feeling of mind-numbingness when you're doing regular content. On our patented 0 to 1 scale, we give this game a 0.57 out of 1, mostly because you can buy gear and items off the auction house for real money, the general
rancid powder
feeling of the UI, and the spider hitting me from 20 feet away was annoying. It doesn't really shine in any aspect of gameplay, it's just basic. Bosses making the area around them a PvP zone is cool though. If you liked this no bullshit review of Throne and Liberty, please purchase the FlipBros Battle Pass by subbing to the channel, toss us a like, and comment your favorite moment of liberty that occurred in history. Thank you, good night, and remember, don't ever let
rancid powder
touch your skin.